That's the third criteria, really, the third question you asked at the very beginning. Is there a response? Is war justified? How do you wage it? And then at that point, what we're aiming at is not necessarily eradication, but peace. And I mean, that's going to be really difficult right now. I mean, you could hear in even, Joel Rosenberg's voice in our previous segment, the atrocities, what were done to children, the fact that they went into these communities, the stories that have emerged out of there. It's going to be really, really hard to keep that long-term goal in mind, I think. And that's going to require, too, that distinction that we're being asked to make, and it's really difficult to make for a number of reasons, between Palestinians and Hamas. Is that a legitimate distinction? I mean, I've heard commentators say it's not. I mean, you look at the polling out of that region, and there's a high level of support for Hamas. There's a high feel from those who are not Hamas that Israel shouldn't exist, that they should be eradicated as well. They might not join any sort of efforts. I mean, that just, in my mind, the moral complexities here are incredible.
Yeah, I'd agree that they're incredible. On Israel's side, there's going to have to be a reckoning about what happened on that southern border. And this is already starting. There's already a tremendous movement. Why were there so few troops there, for instance? And it seems to be mainly because there was a huge amount of troops up helping settlers on the West Bank or enabling that process, which is politically quite controversial. And so one of the things that happens in a democracy is, in the aftermath, a careful review. What are the things to learn? And we may have people actually to hold accountable. The United States is pretty good at this, not perfect, but we try to hold accountable our own military personnel if they've crossed those lines out there, if they've been pillaging, if, for instance, there's taking advantage of women, if there's theft, if there's illicit killing. And Israel does this as well. They have a strong JAG Corps. They care about these types of things. And they're going to have to review better deterrence. But the thing that you're talking about is extremely, extremely difficult. A survey from a public policy institute on the ground in the Palestinian area found on September 30th of this year that about 2/3 of the Palestinians have a strong support for Hamas, and only a third didn't. There's more to that survey, but it shows that locally that they are seen as representatives despite this really hideous charter that they have and this violent Islamism that justifies killing and this type of destruction that we've seen. So how do you get beyond that? And one of the lessons from Christianity is simply recognizing it's at the heart of the just war tradition. Are we going to be able to see the other as human? Can we see the other just as human, as people made in the image of likeness in God? It is not clear to me. First of all, when you suffer so much loss, like some of these Israeli families did, 12 hours hiding in a safe room as a teenager's being led by gunpoint, going door to door, telling people they have to come out or he's going to have his brains blown out. I mean, it's a transcendental thing. It's a spiritual thing to overcome that. And frankly, only the kind of forgiveness that we can find in Christ can do that. When it comes to the next generation, I mean, do we really want to hand them so much hatred and bitterness? But that is what Hamas does generationally. Overcoming that's going to be hard. Now, John, there's good news. We do have places where those things have been overcome. We see it. There's a great prison fellowship sponsored movie, As We Forgive, about the aftermath of Rwanda civil war. There's a Catholic organization that brokered the peace deal between the factions after 13 years of civil war plus in Mozambique. It's a great story. But those are few and far between to build the trust so that people don't hate to the second, third, fourth generation.